Hi, my name is Scott Simmons. I'm the pastor at Faith United Church of Christ, and I am here today with Allie Stark, who has been attending our church for like 4 years and is going to celebrate her third wedding anniversary this coming fall. And I was honored to officiate her wedding and baptize her son just recently. And so, Allie, welcome. Would you just say a little bit about who you are and how your last year has been, and then we'll talk about the Enneagram.
Yeah, so my name is Allie Stark. I was a teacher for 8 years, and my husband Stephen and I had a baby in June 2020, which was a very interesting time to have a baby. And I've been home ever since with him, and I will be for the foreseeable future, taking care of our son Grant.
Awesome. Do you miss teaching?
I miss teaching very much. It's a huge part of who I am, and I miss it a lot, but Grant's only going to be a little once, so just taking advantage of this time. And we've been watching church online. We've not been coming yet because we're being super careful. He was in the NICU after he was born, the height of the pandemic, so I think we just, kind of were scarred by that, and so we're being super careful and just laying low at home for the most part.
Yeah, I think anybody who's a parent, and especially any parent that's had some sort of health issue with their kid, totally gets that. So
Yeah,
all in due time. Well, I originally reached out to you because I'm about to preach on Enneagram 7s, the enthusiasts, and you filled out something. I asked the church to fill out a response about what they were, and you were the only 7, and I hadn't connected with you in a while, and I was like, this is perfect. I'll reach out to Allie. It'll be great. She's gonna be fun to talk to. And then you found out that maybe not a 7. So you've done a lot of work on this. Tell me about the work you've done and your thinking.
yeah. So I took the online test, and it showed a 7 as my most prominent type. And then I kind of dug a little deeper and looked into it, and I heard about how you can take this test in this book about Enneagrams. And so I checked out that book, and I did the test in that book, and that showed a 2 as my type, and 1 and 7 were tied as my second place, both pretty strong. And like you've been saying, you have some of all the types in you, and I definitely see myself in the 2 and the 1 and the 7 pretty strong. So I've just kind of looked up that information, read about it. It's not like when I read the 7, I registered with every single thing on it, but a lot of it did register, especially when I thought about my childhood and being a strong 7 as a child. And then I think life experiences have kind of brought out the 2 and the 1 and made those stronger and kind of tamed the 7 a bit.
Mm-hmm. Describe like the characteristics of a 7 that you identify with or did as a child.
Yeah, so 7s are optimistic, they are positive, they love fun, they love anything that's fun, no matter what it is. They like to entertain people, they like to lighten the mood. If the mood's getting a little heavy, like they like to crack a joke and make things fun again. They just really see the magic and the beauty in life, and they can put a positive spin on just about any situation.
Mm-hmm. And you felt that as a young child you were more that way.
Yeah.
And then life experiences began to change that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How so? Like what sort of experiences have you reflected on what those were? And
Yeah, so my sister was born when I was 10, so we have quite an age gap. And I think that brought out the 2 in me, the helper. I started helping a lot in taking care of her. And then my parents divorced when I was 16. And so then I really stepped up at that time and helped take care of things around the house and just anything that needed done. So that really brought about the 2.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would imagine some of the one as well, which is like an ordered, like goal-oriented, got your stuff together sort of person.
Yeah, definitely. I started taking school more seriously in middle school, when I wasn't getting the grades I knew I was capable of. I just, for some reason at that point, just buckled down and became like a star student and the teacher's pet and started getting grades. I cried when I got like an A- on a report card one time. And I don't know, that part just kind of started in me. And I think it's when I really was drawn to becoming a teacher. And I think a lot of teachers are ones. And I knew that that's who I wanted to be. So then had the strong one come out as well. Mhm.
Yeah, ones are sometimes called perfectionists, but they also have another name. Have you ever heard the name?
Reformer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that seems like a teacher, right? On one hand, like a teacher wants to help somebody grow and
Yes.
do the best thing and correct bad behavior or bad math or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's part of, I really think they're all just integrated with each other, like all the types. And because like I see one aspect of one, and then I'm like, oh, my 7 really helps bring that out in one, like teaching kids and knowing that they're capable of more and they can do better and wanting to push them. I think that's part of the positivity in a 7 is knowing that they can improve and the determination that I can help them. I can, get this for them. I can work hard and, we can do this. Like that's the 1 and the 7, I feel like kind of working together, and the 2, if you think about it, the helper. So
yeah, right. Because the 7 is optimistic. Like there's hope here. Like,
yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's one of the things that really endears me to teachers, the ones I hear, and they like the kid that has the hardest life, that's struggling the most, that sometimes treats the teacher the worst, is the kid that the teacher so has a heart for and wants to like help. And
Definitely.
she or he might be the only person in that child's life that is, giving that sort of loyalty and love.
Right.
It's truly amazing. Yeah, I think you're onto something with that too. Like, I'm highly considering tacking on one more sermon onto this very long series, because I heard this piece or read this piece about how the more mature you become in whatever your primary type is, the less obvious what your type is. Because the more you're able to leverage the fruit of the spirit of the other types. And then the sermon would be about how Jesus, he embodies all these fruits of the spirit, all the like mature gifts of each type.
Yeah.
Yet deals with the difficulty. And I think that, that is the danger of the Enneagram at an entry level, is that you become typecast. Well, you're a 2, so you're only this, and I'm a 3, so I'm right. But the goal is that we begin to transcend the limitations of our type and take on the others.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense because, if you're reflective on yourself and you want to always be growing and evolving as you get older, I think you recognize those areas that you need to grow and change and reflect on. And they're often other types, or maybe even the unhealthy aspects of your type. And by changing the unhealthy aspects of your type, I think you're naturally bringing about a different type,
So what was the name of the book that you checked out?
It's called The Road Back to You.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really popular. I haven't read it. I've engaged with, I think one of the authors is a pastor on it, but a lot of the Enneagram, they say they love it. So you would recommend that book?
Yeah, I think it's really neat. Each chapter starts with 20 signature signs of a type, and the test I was talking about is where you go through and you read each of the 20 things in the list and you put a check mark for every single one that like registers with you, and whichever one has the most check marks is your type.
Do you have the book with you?
No, I checked it out from the library as an ebook. So I have it on my phone if you want me to look at something.
Well, I was just curious, of the 20 types for a 2, which ones were you?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
Uh-huh.
I know that I marked 14 of them
Hmm.
out of 20.
What are the characteristics of a 2 that really like you connect with, because you kind of had this experience, you're like, oh wow, okay, I identify with the 7, but more so with this other type, the 2, the helper.
Yeah. The parts of the 2 that register for me is taking care of um, everyone around you and wanting to make sure they're okay and doing what you need to do to make sure everything's okay. And I think that's part of a 7 as well. Like
Mhm.
if I can help someone, I can turn the situation to a positive, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and having a hard time accepting help is definitely like the negative side of it too that I have. I feel guilty about it. I feel like, no, I can do it. I can take care of this, you know, don't you worry about it. I want to do this. And yeah, that definitely registers. Mhm.
What, so do you know what the root sin of a 2 is?
Pride.
Right, right.
Hmm.
I said this in my sermon several weeks ago. I think I got it from Richard Rohr's book, but he encountered a prideful 2, and she was like, at my worst, I think I don't need God. God needs me,
Yeah.
right? Like you're so essential. And I was just thinking about how you stepped away from teaching,
Yeah.
you home, and the fruit of the spirit for the 2 is humility, right? It's like recognizing limitations. While you can do so much, you don't have to do it all. Uh,
Yeah.
That must have been like a real spiritual challenge for you.
It was very tough. It was very tough. It was a lot of conversations with Stephen and my family, a lot of soul searching, because I do feel like my school needs me. And I don't think that's just a pride thing. I've had several people from my school reach out to me this summer and ask me to come back. So then that makes it even harder to stick with my decision to stay away because I almost feel like I could be the hero that comes in and, you know, don't worry, guys, like,
Da-da-da-da.
don't,
Yeah.
you don't need to stress about this anymore. I'm here
Yep.
and we're all good, you know, and that was really hard to like say no to them again. Um, and it was hard to say no in the first place. I mean, it was really, really, really tough. But I just had to. I always think about that one sermon you did where the question of what is your work comes up, and I had to think, what is my work? And then I'm like, well, I'm a teacher, but like, no, I'm a mom now, and it's best for Grant if I'm home, and best for me, and you know, let's live this slower life a little bit longer before it's nothing but daycare drop-offs and homework and soccer games and you know the hustle bustle that causes everything to fly by quickly. Like, so that's
Mm.
what I came back to. But it was hard because I do have that in me, the helper and also the perfectionist. Like I want to show up and I want to be recognized for, you know, my work and something I'm passionate about and something I think I'm skilled at. And yeah.
I think that I know, because I've talked to people, I know there's a lot of people that struggle with saying no. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
or, I mean, probably put that in a different way. And so, just thinking about how it was you were able to make that decision, I think it's helpful to share and for people to hear about.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the way that you engaged that question, I guess, from one of my messages, what is your work? It was you deciding that you were going to frame in this season, this is what it means to be, helpful. This is where my help is needed. This is where my perfectionist is needed, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember that sermon.
Well,
But
you were talking about driving on the interstate and a guy cut you off, and you had to ask yourself, what is my work in this moment? Is it to speed up and try to teach him a lesson, or is it to get where you're going safely?
what did I say it was?
To get where you're going safely.
Teach them a lesson, right?
Depends how mad you are.
Yeah, I always think there's a story in the Gospel of Mark. I think it's elsewhere too, but it's Mark 1, and Jesus has just healed somebody publicly, and then he's eating dinner, and like a line of people show up, and he heals people all night, and he wakes up the next morning and goes to a secluded place to pray. And as he's coming back, the disciples kind of meet him halfway, and they're like, "We've been looking all over for you, because there's like all these new people at the town." And instead of going back to the town to help more people, Jesus says, "I'm not going back there. I'm going to this other town, because my call is to go preach the good news. It's not to help all these sick people."
Mm-hmm.
And that's so profound to me, because, when we help people, which is a good thing to do, but sometimes then the need is endless. It can be endless.
Yeah.
And what he does is he goes and he connects with, right now in this moment, what is my work or my calling? And he has a boundary. He's, he says no and moves on. And I thought about that, you and your season right now, like the courage and clarity that it takes to say, right now my work is Grant and my husband, Stephen, and, myself, and just being this family. And yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's like a form of humility, right? Like you're able to say, as helpful as you could be at your school, and as much as they'd like for you to come back, like you're a big deal, but you're not that big of a deal.
Yeah. They'll be fine.
They're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you ever dug into stuff like the Enneagram before, personality test stuff, or?
I've done some personality test stuff here and there. Yeah.
How would you say that this stuff compares?
I like that it's not black and white, that there is a lot of gray area, and it can show where you lean or where your like predispositions are, but you're not stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other personality tests, it's like, this is your type, that's it. Nothing else, but as humans, we're just so much more complex than that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the early phrases that I've heard, I don't think I've used it in a sermon yet, but that the Enneagram is descriptive, not prescriptive. It doesn't prescribe how we're to be. It just, and I think the descriptive part is what can be so amazing, because you read stuff and you're like, oh, that's totally me,
Yeah.
Like I was reading something about threes, and it was like, threes always talk about how they don't have enough time. And I was like,
Yeah.
And like people will say to me, like, I know you don't have time. I'm like, man, I must be just giving off this vibe. This is which is not the vibe I want to give off. But when I read that about my type, I felt both humiliated and a little bit comforted at the same time.
Yeah,
cool. Well, this Sunday I'm going to preach about the sevens, and because I'm in the middle of a sermon and I have a captive audience, I want to test something with you and just see if this makes sense.
Okay.
So sevens, that you're pretty aware of, they seek joy, and their gift is joy. They're the fun-loving types, but sometimes they can overdo it, right? A few too many drinks, a few too many of this, and sometimes that overdoing it is because they're trying to avoid pain. right? And so their joy can become a superficial joy, meaning there's not much depth to it, and it does not engage the dark side of life or the broken side of life. And every Enneagram type seems to be rooted in some sort of like childhood trauma. And so the theory on the 7 is that you put on a smiley face so that you don't have to deal with the difficulty. So the fruit of the Spirit then is this is what I'm testing, is this idea of a sober joy. And all the research I've been doing, poking around about sobriety, is talking about like sobriety in terms of like alcohol and drugs. But, you know, I'm thinking about it more in this terms of like this sober thinking, able to engage the brokenness of the world and the beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that there's actually a correlation between the level of brokenness you're able to engage with, and the level of beauty you're able to see.
Yes.
It would have been a beautiful day to bring your son home from the hospital, but it probably was even more beautiful in some respects because of the depths that you had to go to being in the NICU.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And it feels like our country, our consumer culture is like just a dysfunctional 7 culture, right?
Yeah. The grass is always greener. You need more. More is always better.
Yep. Another trip, another new outfit, another Coca-Cola, a new car, so on and so forth, right? And it's like little blips of happiness, but they so easily fall away. And we also fail to really, I mean, as a nation, to engage with the pain and suffering that is in the belly, and that is the reality of the world.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you have to, I feel like something my mom always taught me was you have to take the good with the bad. It's a package deal. You can't just see the good in your life or in the world. Like, you have to see the bad as well, because without the bad, there wouldn't be good. Or without the bad, you wouldn't appreciate the good as much. And that is something healthy 7s can do, is they can feel, they can, you know, kind of sit with bad feelings, anxiety, pain, you know, disappointment, things like that. But they can, and they can then see the good. They can see both.
Yeah, I'm just knowing that Grant's like a year plus at this point, right?
Yeah.
We just had this infant, and I've often thought of the metaphor of like our hard emotions or the difficulty of the world. It's like the crying baby, and you know, the good parent is going to go pick up and hold the crying baby. And we're not afraid of the crying baby, at least we shouldn't be. And if you're willing to hold the crying baby, you get the deep joy of when it calms down and smiles back at you.
Yeah.
But you won't ever get that unless you go into the room and deal with the crying baby. Sometimes it's a dirty diaper, and so it gets even worse. So, well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and it's been really neat to talk with people like yourself and find out that they've done their own reading and self-searching. That was one of the hopes of this series, was just to encourage one another to do that work and develop some more self-knowledge. It seems like you really have.
Yeah, and I made my family all take the test.
What do you have in your family? I'm just curious.
My mom is a 2 as well, which was not surprising at all. My grandma's a 1. I'm trying to think. I had a couple of friends take it. One was a 1. I thought he would be a 3. I was like certain he was going to be a 3, but it said 1. And another one was a 9, which was really cool because I hadn't dug into the 9s yet. The Peacemaker, so that was neat.
What about Stephen?
Stephen's a 1.
He's a 1. Okay.
Stephen's a 1, and 7 is his lowest score. and we can definitely see that in our relationship. He's you know, he's high in a 5, really low in a 7. So
I thought he might be a 5. and I was
Yeah.
searching for some 5s. Yeah.
Yeah. 5 was high for him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you have a great day, and thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording and then just debrief with you for a minute.